always makes me smile.
I love you guys.
Hey guys, welcome back to Finding a Toria. This is Arcadia. I am here with my co-host Malcolm.
Hello, hello.
And Tori.
What up?
Hello, hello.
We are ready for another fun, ridiculous day discussing our favorite TTRPG topics. Hopefully yours as well.
Oh no, whatever show we do, give us the opportunity to talk about D&D. What?
I think
Could be.
I think we should start like on the socials, some sort of like pool where people can do an over-under on the number of times we say absolutely.
I think that's going to have to be, I'm actually pretty good with that word.
That word's okay.
That word's okay. I'm
it's a
sure
fight
there's
between the two of
something
us.
else that I say a whole lot of.
Could be. We'll have to analyze that.
Yeah,
In fact,
there's got to be a phrase that comes out of my mouth all the time.
if chat's out there listening and they've identified Tori's
Please, I'm serious.
word.
We will
Let us
respond
know.
to any of you. You talk to us. We'll talk back.
Absolutely.
And there are several of us.
We like to
watching
talk.
that.
So with that in mind, we can be found on all the socials, Finding a Toria. You can also find information about us on Wordleaf Media socials. You can go directly to www.wordleafmedia.com/findingatoria. Find all of our episodes there, and you have the access to click on that lovely Patreon button.
That Patreon's getting just beefy.
Touch the button.
It's going. I'm going to resist the urge to go there with you, but there's a lot coming to Patreon.
You know.
Yeah, we have some really fun bonus episodes
Okay, Tori just
in the
looked at
background.
me in a way that I don't know we could podcast right now.
At least I didn't call you daddy with the look.
Friends,
And we are devolving quickly in the
Okay,
studio
my bad.
today.
Okay, I'm sorry.
we don't do video. And I
But
think
there's a reason.
reason why we don't
Because
do
that would be
video.
bad, I think.
That's gonna be but no, the Patreon and back on the tracks now.
Yep.
Yeah,
There we go.
So anyways, talk to us on the socials. Check us out at our website. We would love to engage. So we have two very interesting and fun topics to go over today, and I think we need a dun 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 roll off.
Wait a minute. I would like to petition for a bonus.
You got a +2 last time.
I
But,
did.
but I will agree. The expertise.
Oh God!
in this
with what you're doing,
particular
you get a big bonus
topic.
on that one.
So I'm going to give a +1 bonus for podcast experience and a +2 bonus
I'm stacking.
for topic
I'm
experience.
maxing.
Wait,
Okay.
you know what I'm talking about?
+2 bonus for podcast
Podcast.
experience. And let's see. Oh gosh, at least a +2 for topic experience.
Oh, okay. So +3 over here, +4 over there. Besides that, we're just rolling.
We're just rolling.
And this is not to see who goes first. This is choice.
Yes,
Correct.
that's
This
choice.
is initiative.
You this is initiative.
Yeah.
I'm firing. I'm ready. 13 + 3 is a 16.
I don't even need
Nat
a fucking
20.
bonus.
Oh my! I just
Crit.
got stomped over here. I got critted. So now the moment
Tori
of truth.
gets to choose who's going first.
She's going
Malcolm or
first, or
Tori?
is she gonna?
You know what? I'm going to go first.
I like it. I like it. It's a
she's taking
strong
charge.
move. Strong move.
All
Okay.
right. So, Tori, you are talking about our topic that is near and dear to your heart, and I can't wait to hear what you've got to say about it.
Okay, and here is why I got the +2 on this topic. And what I want to talk about is min-maxers.
So,
Which, now hold on a second.
explain quickly min-maxer.
Okay, so min-maxer is they use the game mechanics in their favor, and they like to break the game. So it like, the like Sorlock, the Sorcerer Warlock, like those kind of builds where they minimize it, so they're good at everything.
They use the rules
They
as
use
much
the
to the
rules.
advantage to make as strong of a character as possible.
Exactly. But a lot of the people who are min-maxers have a tendency to have the main character syndrome, which is the problem.
So, why this topic near and dear to you?
Because
Do you like to break the game?
I like knowing. I will say that they say a lot of the problem with min-maxers is it's a form of metagaming because they're figuring out how to be good at everything. Mm-hmm. I am not a min-maxer.
Nope, you are not.
What I am is an optimizer. Mm-hmm. And most of my the way I build characters is I build my character to do something really fucking well. And it's usually one or two things, but mostly one that they do, and they do it well. But in a lot of the other scores, there's way big suckage. Mm-hmm. Way big suckage. So I'm not a min-maxer, but I am an optimizer, and that can be a problem.
And for those of you who haven't heard us talk about it before or seen it on our website, Tori is our mechanics maestro. If Tori doesn't know the mechanics, they might not be in the book. So,
well, and even before I realized that I was into the mechanics, I did it with second edition too, and it's just the way I build.
And so I've got a question really quickly because
yeah,
I love the idea of being able to engage the game in a way where you are finding ways to play your character the way that you want to. Mm-hmm. And I just want to build a wall of difference between that, which I think is a healthy social game aspect of learning mechanics, applying them to your character, versus going in with the intent of
breaking the game.
Does that
finding loopholes,
right? And it sounds like there's obvious calamities therein, but I don't want people to shy away from engaging in the mechanics of the game.
No,
figuring out the parts of it, but it's just a different. It takes the role play almost immediately out of it for me,
right?
Because now we're just stats and grids,
right? And actually, like I watched a bunch of me and YouTube had a discussion about this, and I watched a bunch of videos, and none of them were I watched One Dimension 20, and they were debating about min-maxers at tables, and it was just Brendan, Lee Mulligan, and I don't know who the other chick was. I'll post it, but they were talking about do we need a pause?
Go.
So it was Brandon Lee Mulligan in this. I don't know who she was, but they were talking about min-maxers. And the one thing I've seen, and she said, so what do you think about them? And he said, I don't like them. And she was like, now, that's not quite right. Because I've seen you play, and you min-max your characters all day long. Well, part of the thing is a lot of the min-maxers are usually murder hobos, and so they don't want that RP part.
Right.
But if you can, this is where DMs, you have the power to change that.
Sure.
Like, but min-maxers, they are the ones who want to win D&D. They're the ones who want to be it was able to vanquish the dragon by myself.
The word that you use that keeps coming back to me is that main character syndrome, and I think a lot of this is not nefarious, that it's just subconscious.
No.
And if you look at it, it's video game syndrome.
I was going to say it's viewpoint. It's the winning the game and video game.
And it is my job to exploit the statistical possibilities of the game. And I think a lot of that just translates to table from first-person shooters, from first-person,
just role-playing games.
Role-playing games in general. The video game's going to reward you for being main character focused in maximizing your stats.
Exactly. But when they talk about min-maxers, there's a couple of terms that I was going to talk about. And there's two that are the builders. Okay. Underneath, the title for all of these things is a power gamer.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Now, you can run with a power gamer and not have a problem. Mm-hmm. But a lot of them, it's that main character energy. They have to be the hero. But min-maxers, are builders. They build their character, and they have a tendency to multitask to break the game.
Sure.
They are doing the best. They're going to multi-class. They are going to do their best.
It's them versus the rule book.
Right.
Okay.
Optimizers usually are a little less gung-ho than min-maxers, but we're still specific builders.
But more often do they do that within the confines of the rules of the game and just to exploit what is already there instead of breaking beyond that usually?
Yeah, I'm absolutely guilty. I know what the rules are.
Sure.
I know the way it works, and I can build a character to do what I want that character to do. Mm-hmm. But I don't have that min-max idea.
Sure.
Like, I'm going to suck at something else. I don't have to be good at everything because I'm not the only one in the team.
Well, and that's where I was sort of thinking about it, is back to the viewpoint. You know, an optimizer to me is still coming to the game recognizing that it's not just a game, it's storytelling with a group. You know, it's group storytelling, what we've talked about before.
Sure.
Whereas it feels like a min-maxer is coming to the table with the idea of, no different than sitting down at a video game, which sometimes you do play with groups and everything, but
winning at D&D.
It is about winning. It is about making your character as powerful as possible to get the best score to win the game.
I think Tori said too that your solution is usually or can be behind the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a question that right before Bird said it, I had wanted to get to when she brought up the topic, is especially with you being the counterpoint over here, Malcolm, is as a DM, how do you work with the min-maxer at the table? And a secondary question to that is, do you work with that, or do you try to coach out of it? Like coach them out of the behavior?
I think that I'm known for the approach of, if you want to do it, we'll figure out a way to do it. And it may just not be what you wanted or thought it would be. You know, I don't like the idea of you can't try that, but I definitely support the idea of you're going to see that this doesn't work well and be able to reevaluate it. Tactically, you can do anything to stats. Stats don't really matter when you control the entire environment.
And I'm going to interrupt real quick.
Please.
because I'm an optimizer. I have no problem saying that. Everybody has ever seen any of my characters know this. You neutered my character.
Sure.
In the Battle of Sada Bay. You nerded, like I could not do anything. Mm-hmm. So you took my one skill that I'm really, really good at and you shut it off. You're like, nope.
And you can be as high statistically as you care to be, and still the functions of the world can sometimes neuter or nerf or do something to that character's ability to be all powerful.
Right. But then it opens up this huge thing for RP. Mm-hmm. So that's min-maxers, that's optimizers. There's one other term, and I know we've all played with somebody like this. In fact, not anybody at this table, but not anybody in the other room either. And that term is Munchkin. Munchkins are power gamers of the worst sort. They min-max, and they will do anything in their power to get all the good loot, to get all the good scores.
And does this
to the point of fucking over their party members?
Okay.
So they
get into PvP with Munchkins.
Oh yeah, Munchkins get into the PvP, which is gone. I'm sorry, you cannot sit at this table. We're not doing that.
Or I leave. Yeah, that's not my table. So
Nope.
if it's going to be there, and if I'm running the game, and if I've got to do a session 0 and it's got to be listed, it'll be listed, because that to me just breaks agency and it breaks the social contract, unless you're at a table where everybody's like, absolutely, man, I want a chance to swing at the elf, and the elf's like, bring it on, and people are down for that, but it can devolve quickly.
Oh yeah, and we're talking like them stealing shit from other people. And I'm a rogue maid. That's fine. But you don't mess your own nest.
No, and it's just never been a good thing that I've seen where you can sustain inter-party conflict or
PvP is bad.
Even machinations behind the scenes, dude. Not for me. But yeah, Munchkin, I'm probably just going to let you know as a DM that it's not going to go the way you want to go. And then once they find that out, it's either adjust and play the game differently to fit the table, or go, you know what, this isn't my table. I like to Munchkin out, and I'll go find a Munchkin game.
Sure.
And there's people who are murder hobos who just want that combat, and they're not in it for all the reasons like we play.
Sure.
Because you're not going to have combat every session. It doesn't happen like that.
Oh.
There's going to be, I know, it's really nice to behead stuff or take people out.
Or throw missiles.
Look. I'll play the Nori's playlist for you later.
Yeah.
That's awesome stuff. Do you have more on the mining and the maxing?
There was one more character you were talking
Well,
about.
no, because they're all power gamers.
Okay, yeah.
Which is the overarching term
the
for
overarching
everything.
term
Okay.
for that. Power
What do you
gamer.
mean, yeah, by power gamer.
So, like the min-maxers and the optimizers are powering up their characters to win.
Sure. Okay.
Or powering up part of their character to do something specific.
To optimize something, right?
Munchkins are power gamers that are they're going to do what they got to do to get what they want. So power gamers, it's basically using the game to win without having that, shared storytelling.
Right.
The thought that
Piece.
The main character syndrome feeds.
It's the main character syndrome, because it's kind of like when, point in case, Chuck trying to pick the lock on that goddamn door. And I was mad at him because I'm sitting there like,
you're not a rogue.
What are you doing?
I mean, we could all try to pick locks, but
yeah.
We could all try to climb through windows too, but that shit doesn't work out well.
I wasn't a rogue that session, damn it.
So the thing that I have that pops into my head with this is we've talked before in the past about the ways the game has changed, and particularly how playing at tables like in game stores and things like that can alter sort of how the game is run and played. For me, it seems like the antithesis of the game for player v player activities. It seems like the antithesis of the game to be out to win the game. That's just not what D&D is. However, I would be willing to put money down that there are a ton of people who that is how they view the game. That is how they enjoy the game. And I guess to the point of the game is what you make it, is there a place for this? And I can see it more at, say, like a table where maybe you're only with that group for X amount of time, and you're going to run through this one campaign with them, and maybe that's the storyline is you're all freaking mercenaries and you don't give a shit about the other people in your group. You're out for yourself and you're just working together to get your paycheck. And do you think I struggle with saying I would be able to find enjoyment in that game. It's not my table. But do you think that there is a place where people thrive and love that game?
I would jump in really quick and say definitely. I think there's plenty of them because you're dealing with a generation of gamers and community members and hobbyists that are informed by something that we aren't. And I'm talking about the online games, video games. That first-person thing is usually before they found a table and found D&D, that is where, God of War brought so many people to the high myth, the fantasy, the mythology thing that they're just informed differently. And I just think that Yeah. There are people that feel more comfortable in that space and applying those rules and that viewpoint to D&D. And I think you got to have a space for it, whether you want it to, participate or not. Yeah.
And
more is better.
well, yeah, I was going to say that with the video game thing, that absolutely opened up a whole can of worms when it comes to builds. And when you were trained, that was when video games are what you cut your teeth on, you can win.
Yep. In a lot of those games,
And you can
win
build-
by being the last one alive.
Right.
It is you versus everybody there in some
Right.
respect. Sometimes you team up, but
Yay,
there's
Fortnite.
well, right, but there's no, hey, we're going to the tavern
Halo?
after this. Right, exactly. And I just think that they have different information on how a game should flow, and definitely not my scene. Not going to catch me DMing that, because that's not what I enjoy in the game. But I think your question was, is there room for that? And I think there has to be. If it's not toxic and it's part of the community, then there should be space for people to enjoy that game.
Yep.
My opinion.
I personally, I couldn't handle playing with a Munchkin. I would end up killing that Munchkin in his sleep, her sleep.
I would get so frustrated, I think, if I didn't have to just fight the quote unquote, monsters, bad guys, whatever, but also had to protect myself and fight against my party.
You're healing up and Jerry's in your knapsack, and what the fuck, what are we doing here? No, it to me, the first thing that it says in the DMG, not first thing, but very close to the first thing, social game.
Right.
You're meant to have a good time together. This is you guys as a group doing the thing. And to me, PvP has always been not cardinal sin, but where I break enjoyment for gameplay. I don't care how fun it's going. I don't care if I'm running a character or running the game. That to me is just a full stop every time, because the water gets deep and murky really quick.
That's what I was thinking is that even if you sit down at a table where that's how it's going to be played, where you agree that that's how you want to play or are good with playing, I still think there's some aspects of that will start to bleed into personal interactions with each other. That
Especially if DMs are making rules. If I'm making a ruling and it's you versus the Hydra,
Yeah.
that's one thing. But if it's, Billy versus Steve, and Steve's like, third time, really, you're gonna side with him again. Now it's just a different element, and the slope is steep, man. Yeah, I don't.
And that's just one subset of problem players.
right.
Sure.
But once again, sometimes those players aren't problem players.
Well, and that's what I was going to point out is, again, it depends on what your table is, what everybody has agreed to at the table. If that is not your table, then that could be considered a problem player.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I would get back to the idea that we've promoted all along of find your table.
Even if it's Munchkin Incorporated, man.
Right.
But yeah.
Murder hobos.
Unite.
Yeah,
All right. Well, I think that was a little bit of breaky.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really loved that. Tori, thank you for bringing that.
That was
to the table.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Munchkin.
I know.
I'm not a Munchkin. I'm an optimizer.
You are.
T-shirts due in the fall.
Right. All right. So we're going to take a break, and just reminding you guys that you can find us on all of the podcasters and the socials and wordleafmedia.com/findingatoria. Thank you for listening to us, and we hope you'll have fun when we come back.
This episode of Finding Atoria is brought to you by Wordleaf Media. The Finding Atoria podcast is looking for guests for our upcoming episodes. Are you or someone you know passionate about the TTRPG community and have a story to share? If so, contact us on our socials or reach out at wordleafmedia.com/findingatoria. And now back to your program.
Hey guys, welcome back to our second part of Finding Atoria for the day. This is Arcadia. I've got Malcolm and Tori with me on the mics, and we are excited. It's Malcolm's turn to bring up his topic, which we have been waiting for. We have I think an expert almost on this topic sitting here ready to go at it.
It's a shame. I wanted to talk about this for a while, and I didn't win my role, so I had to wait through a very, very cool Min-Maxer segment.
You waited so graciously, I might.
I enjoyed it. That was incredibly fun. I get to talk about a movie again. This is gonna happen from time to time, people.
Does Malcolm like movies? About
He's got
Dungeons
proficiency.
and Dragons?
He's
got a
got
bonus.
proficiency.
Yes, he does.
I have almost militantly sat people down and forced them to watch this.
Yes, you
If
have.
you came to ThursCon, this was played on a 24-hour loop as advertised and promised for the entirety of ThursCon. I'm talking about today, the 2019 movie Secrets of Blackmoor, The True History of Dungeons and Dragons.
Heyo.
And the first thing that I'm not going to do is take a side on what they talk about as the history. So if you come to the comments with ill intent, you'll get a calm, measured response. Once again, not being a video segment here, Tori literally forcing words back into her mouth.
Speak no evil. Speak no evil.
I'm trying not to sing.
Now I sort of want her to sing.
I'm not really going to move forward until we get a verse.
It's Pink Pony Club is what's playing.
You always get what you ask for on this podcast. I feel terrible. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, it's okay. Okay, let's go back
Now it's
to
in my head. Sorry. Okay, back to Blackmoor.
Yeah.
It's all you,
It's
Malcolm.
the secrets of Blackmoor, like the secrets of what the hell's going on right now. Little loopy, little punch drunk, little.
We have only said the word a couple of times, and we did not take shots. Just saying.
Let's tighten up here because a bit of a movie review. So for those that are not familiar with it, it's a 2019 movie, 90-minute documentary. About mostly about a guy named David Arneson, who we'll speak about, and it is what people say is the oft overlooked origins of TTRPGs in high fantasy settings, and ultimately Dungeons and Dragons. And it centers on Dave Arneson and this group of gamers that started as war gamers that were doing.
Who is Dave Arneson?
Okay. What happens from it's disclaimer time. We're really not responsible for anything that happens at this point in recording day. I'm not going to apologize for anybody or anything right now. We're going to keep moving. Arcadia, Dave Arneson. I'm so glad that you asked because Dave Arneson. You want to go podcast voice at me? I'll go podcast voice right back at you, okay? Anyway, the story centers around a group of gamers.
Yes.
Who were... We're going to have a problem with this, aren't we? We're not going to we're not...
I'm sorry. I will behave.
Anyway, where most people know the name Arneson, and other lies you've been told during a podcast recording. Where people know Arneson from is that he is credited as the co-author of Dungeons and Dragons. Where a lot of people don't know is where he came about to have his point, and that came from a wargaming perspective. They were playing Civil War, Napoleonic battles in their basement. This is, the troops, and you paint them, and everybody's got it was before Warhammer. It was a reason to spend all of your money.
Yardsticks on the table.
Absolutely. Like the old draw the string out.
Grid.
And you had, from these games came a lot of tenets from a book that is kind of, I don't know, the book on role-playing and war games, which is C.A.L. Totten's Strategos. And it really breaks down like the rate of fire and gets you into these impossible math scenarios that are kind of the crux of this. And what they found was really neat that during these game sessions that were historically setting war games, that NPCs started coming back up. And the events of the different interactions with certain colonels or a mayor in a town became relevant, and they took on these personalities.
Lieutenant Fromage.
And you got memorable characters.
Why, Devin? Why?
Absolutely. So
All his
NPCs
fault.
kind of became this way that you went from the broad battle view down to what's actually going on in the village. And now in the early iterations, you had a DM assigning roles and, okay, here's your character and this is the story and this is the objective. But they were just then fleshing out the notion of what a game referee was going to be in a role-playing setting. And Blackmoor was their first high fantasy realm, which from my understanding was a game that went on and is a living world that is still being, played in all of the very cool things, but it was their stab at that. And at the same time, they were interacting with a group of game creators that later became TSR that Gary Gygax was a part of, and they collaborated on a couple of things, but they are credited with coming up with Dungeons and Dragons in its first iteration. This was 1976. The movie says that Blackmoor, Arneson's game, was 1974 and predates it. So that's kind of, they're trying to get him his flowers for the contribution. The legal side of it came down that in 1976, they joined up, they did this game, and by 1979, Arneson had TSR in court. The game went from selling a few thousand units to a few million in a very quick amount of time, and a lot of money came into play. And when the popularity of the game took off and there was money at stake, Arneson was kind of shuffled out. And they tell that story. But David Lance Arneson, born October 1st of 1947, and passed April 7th of 09, is kind of credited with settling what the DM was supposed to be, the game master. And and it goes into a lot of that. There are other people that are involved in the movie that were in this group that had a lot of cool contributions to the hobby, to TTRPGs. There's a David Wesley who took Totten's Strategos and adapted it, which is pretty high level stuff, to a naval game. And there were a lot of people that were in this circle that put out either tabletop games or small versions of their own things. And it was really this nexus of people figuring out what the hobby was going to be that eventually became the sharpened iteration that we interacted with in second edition and beyond. It was just very cool to have this documentary style situation show the other side of it.
What's, I guess, and I feel like you maybe touched on it a little bit, but the why. Why from these tabletop war games to what became Dungeons and Dragons?
It is the social aspect of it. I think that there was something to be found in the role playing of it, the storytelling of it, that was a more enriching experience. And it was also, they knew that they were doing something for the first time. Nobody was sitting there going, but they understood it was something that they were developing that was new. And it was, I think there was a creation aspect of it, but it was, everybody that's in the documentary says how organically it happened. It wasn't this aha moment and then boom, high fantasy D20 was
Dungeons
done.
and Dragons.
It was giving choice to players, running games. They talk about running games that just absolutely failed, where David Wesley had to come out from the other room because their setup at the time was the DM was corned off and was sending out little bits of information to the players who were mingling around each other.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine playing a game like that today?
And it was,
It'd be
it was
intriguing.
Like, it would be a blindfolded DM. And of course it went to shit because the players were able to metagame right out away from the DM and go, okay, so where are you? Okay, I'm going to go down to where he is in the town where you're not supposed to know where each other. Wait a minute, and they call halt to the game. And not to go too deep down a rabbit hole of it, but there's a lot that they talk about in the documentary about how the people have kept going. The Blackmoor bunch, as they're called, this group of gamers is still gets together, still plays their game. And
That's awesome.
It's not so much a stab at Gygax, but I think that it was a well done 90 minutes of giving a guy who deserved his name, because
nobody remembers.
They said by I think third edition or end of second edition, neither Gygax or Arneson are on the cover.
Right.
They're no longer
No,
credit.
they're in the inside. They're given credit in that,
Right. So just
or
to
at least
finish up,
Gygax is.
just to finish up Arneson. So yeah, they settled, and there was money exchanged, and that's closed court records. But then, so David went on to actually work with TSR again in the 80s and contribute to some stuff. He went on to in the 90s until he passed. He was a professor at Full Sail University in computer game design and in game rules design.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and he was an interesting dude, but there's a lot to like there. I could go into it deeper, but I recommend it because it's for people that have been in the hobby. It shows one stream of its origin in a light that I had not seen it before, and I thought it was very, very good. So it's, once again, Secrets of Blackmoor. You can go to secretsofblackmoor.com. Yeah.
Does having watched that, and I know you've watched it many times.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you have taken out of that you have either implemented at the table or would like to implement at the table? Things that maybe we've lost along the way with iterations or time or anything like that?
I will shamelessly steal from it because there's just so many cool things that they give you in there. So I've put fun game nods to it into my game. But what I really kind of took from it was what they find the definition or the prime directive of the referee or the GM or the DM is, and it's never to restrict. It is never to say no to the player. It is to find a way within the game to allow them to operate how they want to, and to, of course, to resolve things. There's a responsibility there, but it kind of, these first machinations in what has become the DM role were this idea of a fair and balanced referee and somebody who was not there to hamper someone's play with their ruling, but was there to find a way to make the game accessible to people.
That's interesting because we've talked about that before with the newer iterations of the game and how it's being played at various tables in different ways. And there's definitely out in the community, where the DM is much more of a judge, much more of a controller of the story than that position would, as you described it, would be.
I think as the game changes, the role's going to change. Being a player is changed, and running a game has changed. But I like the core concepts that are there. You're not there to stifle. You're there to figure out a way for it to work. And when needed, you're there to make a judgment on the game. And a lot of that comes from Totten Strategos directly. A lot of it comes from what they talk about. But it's interesting, especially if you are an enthusiast of the game and its origins. It was something that I thought was A, fairly well done, and B, relevant.
Yeah.
Really relevant.
Tori, did you watch it at ThursCon or at one of the other times?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I have not watched it yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet.
It is
I will watch
interesting.
it.
90 minutes later.
Yeah, right.
I honestly, and having watched it myself, I find it a very interesting juxtaposition because what we sit down to play at the table now looks nothing like those early war games. And so you can definitely see where it moved from one to the other, but it seems like such a broad leap. I find it very intriguing. Tori?
And forgive me, I might have this wrong.
Go ahead.
But wasn't Gygax a big proponent against it was DM versus players?
That I don't know. I'm not sure. He was given jabs in this documentary as being the guy who would always make a table for something. Like if they while they were creating the game, if there was a problem, you could just turn around and Gygax would be like, "All right, well, we got a table for that. We've got,
Dude, I'm gonna say it. I like that part.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I do too.
Absolutely. So I don't know that it lent to him being in a DM versus players mentality whatsoever, but I wasn't listening for that. That might be out there. And I don't know that these two
I
were
could be wrong too.
Could be.
So.
And a lot of people think that this pit these two people against each other as mortal enemies, and I don't think that that's what that was. I think that
They collaborated. And
they collaborated, and then business got businessy, and money became money. And whenever money becomes an issue, you handle that legally. And I don't know personally how it all ended, but the people that they interviewed that were supposedly close to Dave in this movie were family members who kind of, and friends that were just like, if you knew him, you wouldn't expect it. He was very, very understated kind of person. Didn't, wasn't the standout person, and you wouldn't point to them and go, oh, big creative, but was somebody that was that into it at the time and gave a lot to the hobby.
I think for me, one of the biggest things in watching it is in my brain, I keep seeing the scenes where they've got the war games laid out and they're measuring and they're identifying what's going to happen next and everything like that. Versus, a small group of people playing at a table with a small group of PCs, I know you love the idea of army battles in the game.
I love large scale army battles in the RPG space.
And so we haven't as yet, what would you take from Blackmoor and the things you saw there to apply some of those larger scale battle situations to a game that I feel like doesn't really do that all that often?
They've made stabs at it, and I'm not, it's a good question, and I'm not well versed enough to know, but I think the most recent iteration was one of the Dragonlance, the Dragon Queen module, I think, took a stab at it. It had a companion large battle matrix that you could get with it, and it was a sub game.
But we don't use modules.
So
how would you do it? Master DM?
No, there's so much out there on it.
How would you bring it to our table?
Oh, he started to with Battle of Sada Bay.
I know.
So yeah,
he's got plans.
Oh yeah.
You do stat blocks for troops. You assign different abilities to different classes of troops. You assign special standards for special forces, and then you have leaders with tactical. I mean, you just start assigning stats, and then you run those. You play test it, but then you run those up against them. You scale it larger. You break it back down. I don't have all of the answers over there.
He hasn't thought this through at all, has he? Not at all.
I bet you money there's a yellow notepad somewhere with stat blocks for armies.
Well, I know that we had, back in the days of we already had troop stats. We already had leader piece, like NPCs named and identified, and character sheets created for them.
Yeah.
So we've already started that a little bit.
There were maps. Some crayons were involved. Got serious.
Was it Brittany?
No, it was Bethany.
Bethany.
Shit. Yeah, that was right.
Colonel Bethany. I have that. That is out there.
Yes. It is.
Bethany. Fucking Bethany.
Like that long ago, the name was uttered. Oh my God. Seriously, like when I found that in the binder, I was like, oh wow, really? Because it's my nice big bubble letters.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, how the hell?
Bethany?
Bethany in 94? Just prophetic. Yeah.
Okay,
but no,
Bethany.
we had done that, and I would bring that in there, but they were doing historic recreation battles for the most part, and I think that I don't know.
You almost have to do battle maps for that, especially if you're doing recreations.
And it's tough when you bring that into a social, because it breaks a lot of what the party thing is. It's
right.
That's first person or collective expectancy of my character is going to do something meaningful, not 40,000, knights of the crown, battle. Right, absolutely. So
Monty Python, baby. We're going to keep coming back.
It gets unless you put those and I guess the answers and where people have tried to do is you put those PCs in a leadership position in the large battle where their decisions affect outcomes with the troops. And hey, if you've got a resource, if you've
that's
got,
what I was thinking.
You know
hive
what?
mind community.
You know
Send
what
us your
that means?
stuff.
You know what that means? That means Eatery's going to end up being Caro.
Shh. There's no such thing.
Horse shit. Horse shit. Horse shit. I call shenanigans. I'm going to break at a broom.
Idri does already have an entire special forces troop that reports to her of people who are just like her in regards to being both fighters and mages.
There's no planned sequel for the Secrets of Blackmoor.
We just totally
I
left
believe
her and Clyde.
I believe Raya has an entire group of go ahead. What are they?
Dragon Rider.
Puppy.
At the behest of the king and queen.
Dude. But okay, look, I didn't ask to be a dragon rider. I was given that and I cried about it. I cried.
Yes.
Because that's so awesome. One of my babies gets to be a badass dragon rider.
So we've already got things set up.
Yeah.
We have troops. How many are at Dreville's disposal?
So he taught at Full Sail University from the 1990s.
You guys got some lore for the home game in this episode. Sorry.
I'm just sitting over here going, they're giving away the store, man. Like no, but anyway, it's a favorite of
We
mine.
love Atoria.
Absolutely.
Share it with the masses to an extent.
If you have thoughts on it, share some thoughts on it. I don't think I'm going to do a deeper dive for a segment on it, but I really like it.
Yeah.
You can go to, so I did IMDb, I did the movie, I did secretsofblackmoor.com are all my sources. And that's it. That's what I got.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us with Finding Atoria. Yeah. We are so grateful that you're here. You're listening to us. I'm here with Malcolm and Tori. And as always, you can find us on all the socials. You can find us on Patreon. And you can find us at www.wordleafmedia.com/findingatoria. We thank you for everything you're doing with us.
Yeah, thanks. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Later.